All right, everybody, welcome. My name is Major Nick Wassinger here. We're getting our video going.
Hello, my name is Nick DeLuca. I'll be the PCO for HBU.
All right, and so a couple of admin things here for you guys to begin with. First off, obviously you got in, so welcome. Second, if you have questions at any time, go ahead and use your chat box. We won't be able to hear you because all the things are set up for chat only. So right now it's pretty open loop from our side as far as talking here. So if you do have any questions, we got folks answering questions over chat, and we'll be taking those as we go along. So what we're going to do right now is go through some opening slides, and then we'll, if you got chats and questions, bring them up and we'll answer them as we go. And then at the end, it'll be all pretty much open, and we will we'll take all those questions and start working our way down them, and hopefully answering all your questions you got there. So, all right. With that, Nick, I'm going to actually hand it over to you to do some of this.
All right, thank you everybody for attending the UAS Pitch Day AMA session number 1. The purpose of this session is to really introduce HBU, HBA, AFRL, and tribe service topics, and the purpose of Air Force Pitch Day coming up in July. And we'll go to the next slide. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay, so the agenda today, we're going to talk about HBA, HBU, a little bit of AFRL, and tri-service. What is Pitch Day, what we're looking for, the requirements to be eligible, what's next, and the Q&A answer period. So everyone that's going to be involved in the UAS Air Force Pitch Day can contact that email address listed on your screen. I want to make mention that all technical questions can be directed to us up until 31 May, but after that, you will have to contact the SIBR office directly. So some contractors that will be supporting UAS Pitch Day will be MITRE, who will help out during the evaluations. OASIS, who is an ANA's contractor, will support UAS Pitch Day, but will not be involved in the actual evaluations. And I'll turn this over to the Major. All
right, and so you're going to see us slide a little bit over because I got another friend here. So Craig, if you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Craig Hodgson from the Air Force's Aerospace Management Systems Division. We're headquartered here at Hanscom outside of Boston. So our vision is to provide cradle-grave sustainment and procurement activities for airspace access and weather capabilities that allow the Air Force to conduct their global mission and to be effective around the world. And we're also focused on the safety aspects of airworthiness for aircraft and airspace access from an equipage standpoint.
All right. And then, so I'm the chief engineer here for our office called HBU. We're for Force Protection Division, and our main job is to work on counter small UAS. So what our really vision is, and the reason why we bring this up, and then the next few slides you'll see, is to give you guys all context of where we're coming from. And so from our perspective in force protection, the HBU side of this is to actually ensure that we provide air dominance through the mitigation of those small UAS. So it allows freedom of movement for all of our different mission sets that are on air bases and other places to make happen. So with that, let me talk a little bit, sorry, Craig, from our tri-service friends. They're not able to join us right here on Zoom. But I'll be speaking for them. So their main vision really is to bring new technologies on and to identify gaps that we have in our counter swarm. So when we say swarm, what do we really mean? We mean different small UASs actually working together and communicating such that they can provide a function as a group together, but yet independently function as an element. And then with the AFRL friends,
he might be able to try talking, so we can.
Okay, yeah. Matt Dilsaver, you're on, right?
Yes, I think so. Can you hear me?
Give it a shot.
Okay, so yeah, so Can you guys hear me?
Not hearing much. So Matt, still saver with, if you can go ahead and then just chat you guys' vision and everything like that so the whole team can start to see it. We're going to move ahead with our side here. And that way you guys can provide some of that information to everybody that's online. All right. So with that one, we're going to move on into our next slide here. Mission. So back to Craig.
Yeah, just to be a little bit more specific about HBA's mission in particular is we develop, deliver, and sustain air traffic management systems for the Air Force, something like 70 different weapon systems across the globe, really. We also manage this Air Force's CNSATM Center of Excellence, which is a systems engineering avionics expertise, centralized location at Hanscom that the services can come to for assistance in integration efforts. And then we also are the headquarters of the Air Force's weather sensing and forecasting capabilities, which is provided to both military and civil customers.
All right. So from our perspective, for counter small UAS, our job is to actually bring to bear systems, rapidly field them right now. We're working under what's called urgent needs, and we're getting equipment out as fast as we can to counter small UAS, so small unmanned aircraft systems, sometimes known as drones. But we're supposed to be doing that iteratively because we don't have our final answer just yet. But all that's supposed to be coming out, and it's going to our force protection troops that are out there doing the job each and every day, all the way across the world. Okay. So I'm going to shift over into the tri-service side of this house. So their main mission was a direction from the Department of Defense to go out there and help us stay ahead of the game in each of the services, the Navy, Army, Air Force, and of course the Marines. With that, they are trying to stay ahead of each of us in all the services, fielding things such that when we are ready to field a counter swarm capability, it's ready to roll off the table. So that's kind of what their main mission set. And then Matt Dillsaver, if you'd be so kind as to chat up your guys' things from AFRL RQ's perspective. That's Air Force Research Labs, and RQ, they have a lot of unmanned aerial systems that they deal with. So once, as we move through here, we'll go ahead and let Matt chat that up so that you guys can start to see that. All right. And as the questions start collecting, by the by, we'll get to them here in a second. But hopefully some of this stuff will get through here. Also, by the by, I just heard from some of our admin. Try to use the Q&A chat room for that. So it'll be a lot easier for us versus just the webinar chat. So, okay.
AFRL just shared.
Aha. Up. And so AFRL just shared up their mission set. So I'll let you guys go ahead and read all that. And if you do see anything in there that you need some questions, it's in the Zoom webinar chat room. If you got any questions, go ahead and toss them in the Q&A and we'll work them as they come up. All right, so we'll go to the next slide, some of the things underneath all of these great words we just said.
Yeah, so HBA is really looking to leverage any kind of industry or established civil technologies that we would view as innovative or something that we haven't seen before. Ideally, something that's mature, almost ready to go, to be integrated into our existing programs or platforms.
All right. And some of the things that are underneath all of us on countering small UAS from our program office perspective is that we got to rapidly prototype things. What we're doing is we're grabbing what we know of best of breed at the time, grabbing them and putting out in the field. And we're doing it over and over and over. And we're utilizing open systems architecture to be able to plug and play things in and out to be able to really meet the need, as we're not doing a full rate kind of production where we're going to spend the next 10 years building an F-35 for everybody. We've got to get something out now. And so that's what we're doing, is we're grabbing what we know right now, putting it in the field, checking to see what's good and what's bad, and then going from there. So that's kind of the letting you in on a little bit of the secrets that we've got and direction we have from our side. And then from the Tri-Service Committee, the guys who are doing counter swarm work, again, they're some of the implied tasks that they have is they have multiple experiments that they're building up to once one get kind of a level playing field and have situational awareness, really where everything is, and that's really what the step they're at now. And as they start moving in for this pitch day, they will have already identified gaps that they found through that experimentation, and they're looking for folks like you to bring in technologies so that they can bring and put that into their experiment and see really where your technology can help and or where there may be some other gaps they hadn't thought of. So that's really what's underneath all their hood. So with that, I'll actually again point back to the chat room for Matt from AFRL and the RQ side for their agile and work into the UAS and decentralized control and all that stuff. So, so watch for Matt to go ahead and chat that up. Okay. All right, for this, gonna get a little bit more of the admin, so I'm gonna shift this back over here to the better looking Nick.
Thanks. So what is Pitch Day? It is what it sounds like, and all the companies that propose in July that are evaluated and selected to attend Air Force Pitch Day in July at the KRI facility will have the opportunity to pitch their solution in front of an Air Force panel, and you have the opportunity to walk away that day with a federal contract and funding. This event is sponsored by PEO Digital. We're very excited about this. I hope you are too. Next slide. So the objective of Pitch Day is to explore innovative UAS and counter small UAS technologies, and that may fall outside the Air Force's current fields of focus, but that may be useful for the Air Force in general. And we're going to touch upon that on the next slide as we discuss the topics that the companies can propose to.
All right. Okay, so I get to take the stage again for you guys. So the first couple topics here from my group. So let me go into a little bit of details on those. So the first one you see there is UAS payloads to defeat other UAS. So like I said before in the intro is that all those different small UAS that are threatening our different sites, we're trying to do stuff to get rid of them. So one of the areas we're trying to move into is utilizing small UAS to defeat small UAS. So it's almost like defensive counter air if you're a doctrine wonk. But with that, what we're trying to mean is we need modular payloads that are going to go on to their own small UAS to help in what we call the full kill chain. So that includes things like surveilling the area that we have to worry about. It includes detection of small UAS in that airspace. It includes tracking those other aircraft, doing identification. Those payloads need to be able to help in that. Evaluating the threat themselves from those other small UAS and to defeat those small UAS. And then the other side of this as well, that a lot of times people forget, but we need to assess whether whatever we are doing, be it just identification or doing some sort of defeat, we need to see if we are being successful in that. So that assessment side of the house, we're looking for small UAS to help us in that realm too. So in that sort of venue, we're looking for payloads to go on to any type of small UAS. A lot of times people are looking to say, well, is this got to be a government drone or whatnot? Right now, we haven't specified. So if you have something to go on a commercial small UAS, great. If you have something that goes on a government small UAS, great. But whatever we ask, it would be modular such that we can get that onto any payload or take that payload, put it on any platform as quickly as possible so we can get it out the door. So that's really I guess the meat and potatoes or bumper sticker of that first topic from us on the HBU side, so the force protection. The next one is all about small UAS signatures and how do we actually leverage identification software for that. So right now, we have a lot of different sensors that we are fielding, sensors that use optical ways of looking at, and then the electro-optics, so actually in the visual realm, but also in the infrared. So mid-wave, long wave, even if you have short wave, we'll take it. We've also got radars out. We've got radio frequency detectors. We have acoustic sensors. So we have all these different modalities of sensors or phenomenologies, if you prefer that term. We have a lot of those out the door, but that's a lot of data that's coming in to our operators. And so we're looking to get software coming in that really helps them detect and ID the small UAS in those different modalities. So we're looking to pluck the actual diamonds in the rough coming from all that data. And of course, all that stuff, we need to be able to plug and play that software onto our open system architecture. And that's part of the game for these small business innovative research projects. All right.
So AFRL has provided a lot of information in the chat, so maybe we just pause for a moment to let folks read everything that Matt's provided.
Excellent. And by the way, I'm looking over at my screen over here so I can see it too. So. No. Okay. All right. So with that pause, hopefully that gave you a little bit of time to read through. If you're interested in learning more about those, the further topics down at the bottom, the agile technology insertion for UAS, and then also the artificial intelligence and decentralized control of UAS swarms. All right. With that, I'm actually going to hand this over back to Craig so he can describe the HBA topics a little bit more detail.
Yeah, sounds good. So the next 6 topics came out of our division from our different branches. Mainly we have deployable systems and weather systems. So there's going to be a mixed bag of inputs here. But the first one was looking at potentially flight management software that has a pedigree or already proven established track record from a airworthiness or certification standpoint that could be applied to different size air vehicles. So, you know, we have our existing inventory, but this would be for newer development type activities. We would envision that this would be a middleware type vendor versus a hardware, software, or a prime integrator. The next topic is on weather hazard avoidance. One of the big contributors to loss of UASs for the military is actually encountering weather, but not realizing from an operator position standpoint that we've run into weather that is detrimental or potentially catastrophic for the air vehicle. So in that area, we're looking for maybe onboard or offboard sensors that can help avoid weather that the operator is not aware of, or that the models may be miscalculated or predicted. We also get stale weather data in the form of radar that could be 15, 20 minutes old, and we find a convective activity and we encounter icing or severe turbulence. So this would be technologies that would aid the operator in avoiding those conditions. The third topic is a mixed weather and deployable system topic. We were thinking that there may be UAS technologies out there that could help us when we deploy, say, an instrument landing system to an austere environment. Instead of having a qualified aircraft come in and validate that these signals in space are set up and tuned properly, that we could use a UAS to do that in theater calibration at a lower cost with a lower logistical footprint. Another concept from the deployable system folks was that we would look to do some sort of RF characterization at the airfield. So if we were experiencing an interference, maybe having a UAS-based detection system where we could characterize reflections or RF interference in that area. And then the third sub-piece to that would be from our weather folks, where there may be sensors that could aid us in characterizing hydrology aspects of soil moisture content. Some of our systems or troops are going into environments where we'd like to have that type of information for setting equipment up. The fourth topic is currently sense and avoid technologies for mixed manned and unmanned airspace. So our current operational activities are aided through spotters or chase planes because UASs and RPAs have to meet the FA or FAR Part 91-113 requirements, which is see and avoid other aircraft. So currently we do that through a detect and avoid system at a few of our bed down or operational training locations. But the holy grail in all of this would be something that would be a sensor package or suite that would be on the air vehicle itself, self-contained, deployable, and the air vehicle could react to that versus today we're, like I said, reliant on spotters, chase planes, or fixed radar sites. And then just one other comment on that. I know some of the commercial, smaller form factor UASs have the means of obstacle avoidance, but those are short range technologies that really wouldn't be applicable to our mission set as far as airspeeds and altitudes that we would be operating at. So just take that into consideration. The fifth topic would be using a UAS in an environment from a contingency standpoint to provide some augmentation signals in case we had a GPS outage. The idea would be that you could replicate or emulate GPS signals in a terminal environment where we could still recover aircraft if we were encountering some sort of GPS outage or RF challenged environment. And then the last piece is really kind of tied to the first topic, which is the design assurance and airworthiness certification aspects of the underlying air vehicle or flight management system capabilities that you may be applying to civil air vehicles that we could leverage for application in future military UAS developments. So,
All right.
that's pretty much it.
Very good. And like I mentioned before, if you've got questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A side of the house and we'll start working them here in a second. So anyway, I'll take it for a couple seconds because I'm going to speak for our tri-service friends. So since they are countering swarms, what they're looking for is worse technology. So that's a pretty wide open topic, and that's exactly kind of what they're looking for. So again, let me use the exact words of when we say swarm, what are they kind of talking about? Because a lot of times it's not just numbers of drones in the air, it's how they're actually working together. So, quote, a collaborative survival of a mass of small UAS platforms. So that's really what they're meaning as a swarm. So there's different type of functions and stuff that they've got. So really the technologies that they're going to be looking for are really wide open. So if you got something, that's great. These are the kind of things though that the tri-service is going to kind of be using to evaluate or think about what your technologies or systems would bring to bear. So they're going to be looking at things like kill chain relevance. So when I said kill chain, like I said, that surveillance, detect, ID, the threat evaluation, defeat kind of level and assessment. So that's that kill chain. So how relevant is it in those different boxes? They're also going to be looking at what sort of burden it is on other systems. Are you standalone? Are you creating a lot of work for a network? Are you able to do things all by yourself? That sort of work. They're also looking at autonomy. So it's a buzz term of the time, but they're really looking to see what sort of leverage of technologies you can bring to bear that will help in automating the whole process any part of the time to help keep our manpower burden on this down and also to be effective through that entire countering process. Of course, the thing that most likely you would have thought of originally was effectiveness. So how well are you able to counter a swarm? That's one of the things that they like to see. And then there's also things that they're looking for from a system maturity. So it's okay if you don't have a very mature system in what you think, but remember, maturity also is not only just being able to do the mission, but also maturity means being able to do the mission, the thing you're trying to do, the function in the area we're looking for. So if you happen to have a really mature technology, but it's now using it for something new, that is something we need to really think about and bring to bear. Just like you would something like a doctor who's using a pill for a new reason, you got to do things to bring that in. So they're looking at that. Then there's also potential for integration back into work that we're looking for. And then also they're looking for value and uniqueness. So a lot of people have kind of the same ideas, but honestly, we're all hoping that you bring to the table something new, some way that we haven't thought about this problem set before, and that kind of goes, great, I'm glad you thought of that. We were not that smart. Thank you for coming. Those are the kind of things we're looking for. So a couple things just got to from our friends over there is they're looking for false alarm rates, recognition performance. They're looking at ranges, times to do all this, ID performances. Also looking to be able to demonstrate reliability and some of that other what we call suitability kind of things, which mean its ruggedness. Is it able to operate in a cyber denied kind of domain? Is it able to work within the spectrum that's around us in that RF environment? Is it able to actually be safe, rugged? Because there's a lot of environments that we take these things to. So those are the sort of things that our group's looking for from a counter-swarm technology. All right, and so with that one, for the last two, for agile technology insertion for UAS, for artificial intelligence and decentralized control for UAS swarms, I'm going to point you to the chat room again. So Matt Dilsaver is on and up, and so if you do have questions from what he wrote up, go ahead and type that into the Q&A chat section. All right, I think we're going to get into a little bit more of the administration here, so I'm going to hand you back to Nick.
It's hard to follow. I'll do my best.
All right.
Okay. All right. So some goals for Cyber Phase 1 is to validate the product market fit between the proposed solution and a potential US Air Force stakeholder, which would be either HBU, HBA, AFRL, Tri-Service. So the purpose is to find a home for these solutions. We wanted to find a clear and immediate actionable plan for running a trial with the proposed solution and the proposed Air Force customer. One important note is that all funds obligated on the resulting Phase 1 cyber contracts are to be used for the sole purpose of conducting a thorough feasibility study with scientific experiments, laboratory studies, commercial research, and interviews. And prototypes may be developed with cyber funds during Phase 1 studies to better address the risks and potential payoffs in innovative technologies. Sorry, so who can submit proposals? Who's eligible? So all startups and small businesses that are US-based for-profit businesses, more than 50% owned by US citizens or permanent resident aliens, and can have no more than 500 employees, including affiliates. You can also find more information on the pre-release DoD Cyber 19.2 section 3.15 for additional information. I want everyone to highlight this next part, make a little underline, make a star. All companies must be registered in SAM.gov at the time of proposal submission and not award. So it has to be registered in SAM at proposal submission. Okay. So what's next? All right, so before we get into the proposal, the DoD pre-release is going to close on 31 May. The new official DoD Cyber 19.2 will be live the same day, 31 May. That will close, I believe, 1 July at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And then, this is sort of high level requirements here that your technical proposal shall not exceed 5 pages. Pitch deck shall also not exceed 15 slides, and the period of performance for these Cyber Phase 1 contracts will not exceed 3 months. The technical portion will last 2 months, and there will be a final reporting period for 1 month. And all awards will not exceed $75,000. How to submit. So the pre-release for DoD SBIR is currently live. The official DoD SBIR 19.2 will be live from 31 May to 1 July, and also will close 8 p.m. Eastern, like I said before. And again, very important, must be registered in sam.gov at the time of proposal submission. So important dates to remember. Obviously, we're in the 02 to 31 May timeframe. We are currently at the first AMA session. We're going to have a follow-up session on 28 May, 3 p.m. Eastern. During this time, 31 May to 1 July, the 19.2 release period will be live. Proposals and pitch decks are due no later than 1 July, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do our best to send out invitations and notifications of non-selections by 12 July 19. And after everyone receives their invitations or non-selections, we're going to have a follow-on AMA session sometime in between 12 July and 24 July to have another session with the companies that were invited to Air Force Pitch Day. And then as of right now, our Air Force Pitch Day will be scheduled for 24 July at the KRI facility in Burlington, Mass. And everyone that will be invited will have directions and all that stuff included. And I believe that is it. And so now we're going to open it up for questions, and we can respond and all that fun stuff.
All right, very good. Okay, so with that, actually, I'm probably going to come back over here to Craig because some of these are technical questions. So I'm going to look over here at our list, starting with Paul, who asked, are there...
You can open the questions on your screen.
I can. I'm actually going to look over here. That way I can't do two things at once, right? So, okay. Are new types of UAVs, alternatives, quadcopters, fixed wings, etc., within scope of this solicitation? Okay. So with that one, I'm going to speak from our side, from the countering side. So defeating, finding and defeating. We don't have any platforms specified right now. So if there's anything that specifically you want to try and bring to bear, being a hybrid, a VTOL, anything like that, it is all up in the air. So as you guys know, fixed wings provide more payload, weight, and swap. So if there is a small UAS fixed wing that you want to bring, that's there. Just always, the one thing I want to bring up to you is that there is I guess there's an effort into entry. So if there are small UAS that are harder to fly than others, that goes into playing into getting things into the operational environment. So it's tougher to fly. That means more training. That means more maintenance. That means all that stuff. So that's part of the operational integration kind of things that we have to do on our side to make sure that all the airmen that are using these different small UASs can really do it. And if it's too hard, it's too hard. But right now there are no restrictions. It's just something that we'd have to understand. So I don't know if you have more to add to that.
Yeah, just on the HBA side with regards to the question, I could envision us being open to other technologies or vehicle types, specifically for the GPS outage piece. We would think that maybe a tethered vehicle, if it's providing power and sustained flight to wait out the period where this outage would occur. That might be a different type of unmanned or remotely piloted type application where it's a non-traditional.
Okay. All right. And then Matt, I'm going to ask you out there if you can go into the Q&A and type in your 2 cents that's coming up. So that's Paul has a better idea of what fits into your thought process. Okay. All right. So Chris out there, Christopher Shear, do you have a size, weight, and power swap requirements? Just like I mentioned before, I don't personally, from the countering side, do we have any swap requirements? It really comes down to the platforms that we would that you're looking to come into. From our ID side of the house, all that's ground-based equipment. So with that one, really, swap is nothing really that terrible unless you have requirements that are kind of outside normal things. So like if you need 10 kilowatts of power, that's kind of interesting. But we would just need to know that. And so if your technology would come to bear, we would need to bring that in so that it could be supported.
Yeah, and our top for HBA, our topics have such a wide range of applicability and maybe platform applications that we're not going to constrain any proposals or pitches up front to any swap criteria or requirements. I mean, we're definitely open. We don't want to discredit anything out the gate. So.
Okay. And then also, if our answers bring up more questions or you need a little bit more clarification, just type back in and we'll catch them. So, all right. So with that, next up is Melanie. She asked if we are working with a commercial UAS, are there restrictions on the manufacturer origin? So can we buy from other countries? So right now we don't have any things that we want to put on top of that, and any requirements. It does add in a risk to us being able to use your systems or technologies such that we'd have to somehow mitigate that risk. So whether it's US or foreign, I'm not going to say no to anything, but just know that it's that much of a step for us if it is a foreign product. Now, I do want to point out something that normally you don't think about, is that if it is a very highly complicated technology, especially those platforms, sometimes having a foreign-based technology is actually good, because when you're trying to protect technologies, if it's not ours to protect, then it's up to the nation that actually where it came from, its point of origin, would then have to give approval to then send it to somewhere else, including the United States. So if it's made in, we'll say, Sweden, and it comes to the United States, Sweden still has to approve the United States to use that technology, especially for military type of things, ITAR kind of level things. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, for HBA, one of our calibration concepts that I mentioned, we've started to look at a foreign European vendor for I think it's a quadcopter that they already use in Europe. So it's kind of where the idea stemmed from. So we're open to other foreign suppliers.
Okay. All right. And then Matt Dilsaver as well. I would assume there's some interesting things that you have to bring bear from your side of the house. So there's a couple of admin things that are being answered. So just keep your eyes open on that. Things like how to propose for this, how to break it out. So there should be some chat answers there so you guys can all see. And then there's also things like where can we find these slides. So those answers are coming up right now. So let me go into the little bit more technical side on the next one. This next one's from Lisa. What correlation, if any, is there between this initiative and the FCE event? So I'll take this one, Craig, because the FCE is the fly-on characterization event that our division is doing right now. It's wrapping up today or tomorrow. So that event was through an RFI or a BAA. I can't remember which way we put it out, through FedBizOps. That went out a few months ago, and everybody that was invited came out. So that was out at China Lake. So that was more of an engineering kind of level market research that we were performing, such that we could gather all the data on specific parameters within a controlled environment. We're trying to get past and get some real engineering data that is beyond the slick sheets that we normally would receive. But with this event, we're not connected to that at all. So that's data that we're putting into our market research and putting into the machine that is our program. With this event, we're actually trying to get initiatives coming in from small businesses. Maybe one, didn't see it, and two, maybe couldn't afford to be a part of that event, such that we can bring in new technologies. And also, if you've looked at what was asked in the topics, so our topics of being able to actually put payloads on small UASs to counter other UASs, and then also from an ID kind of algorithms that we're looking for detect an ID. those were not things that we looked at with the fly-on characterization event. So if your company was a part of that, we've got the great data from the kill chain kind of perspective that we were collecting. This is a little bit different and into the future that we want to really bring to bear. So they really are truly two different initiatives that we had. All right, so with that, I'm going to go back up to the big board, and we just got to refresh. Is stakeholder, this is from Jason, is a stakeholder interest outside of HBA, HBU, tri-service, AFRL, RQ of interest, value for this pitch day. So your kind of example is stakeholders in other parts of the Air Force. So actually, I'm going to have to think through this one a little bit. Craig, take the.
So, yeah, I'm not sure where Jason's coming from on that one, but if this is a question of would we expand the concepts or topics to other potential Air Force stakeholders, I think that's possible at this stage. I don't know if you want to mention it.
So the SIBR announcement asked the companies proposing to consider their stakeholder in proposing. So the stakeholder for this pitch day event, the immediate stakeholder are these organizations.
Okay.
That's not to say that the technology could not be expanded to be used in other areas, but the stakeholder that should be thought of for this event are these organizations.
Okay.
We're going to evaluate based on those topics.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys heard that. I'll kind of repeat that a little bit in case you didn't hear. So really what if you saw the announcement, we are the main customers coming in for this. So the ability to transition this would actually be part of our responsibility. If we actually see something and we picked something and we're moving it forward and we want to transition it to somebody else, that is up to all the stakeholders. But right now, we are looking to be the main customer. So Craig and his team would be running things down for us. Myself and my team, we would be owning your SIBR to get it, to bring it to bear. Same thing with AFRL and tri-service. Hopefully that kind of clarified things for you, Jason. Okay. Any other questions? And right now the queue is open, so ready to answer. All right, there we go. There comes another one. Thanks, Chris. So could HBA could elaborate a little bit more on the design assurance and airworthiness? Are you looking at airframes or components in reference to MIL standard handbooks or 14 CFR?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the 516 reference. We have a number of existing air vehicles that are out there flying with TFRs on them, or in TFRs, I should say, temporary flight restrictions. But that's kind of a misnomer because some of these TFRs have been in place for years to support that safe separation. So where we want to get to is the equivalent level of safety aspect that a manned aircraft would be put through from a civil standards compliance standpoint. So within HBA, we have the CNSATM Center of Excellence that I mentioned, and we do assessments of civil avionics integrated onto a wide range of air vehicles, helicopters, heavy lifters, fighters, and we've started getting into UAS RPA evaluations. We don't have a lot of track history on that. There's some unique aspects that need to be taken into account or overcome or mitigated from human in the loop. There's human machine interface or HSI requirements in the civil standards that we would need to overcome. So those are the areas that we're looking to the commercial industry to see if those considerations have already been taken into account in some of the software or hardware solutions that you've started to develop. And it could be, like I said, either for new system developments or to migrate or transition into some of our existing fleet.
All right. Okay, very good. So in the meantime, we'll continue to wait. So feel free to type in your Q&A. And as a side note, if you guys look into the webinar chat room itself, you'll see Matt Dilsaver from AFRL RQ answering some of the questions as well, as far as like swap and things like that. So if you want to see the answers to those questions, he's got them in the Zoom webinar chat room. All right. So while we're waiting, I do want to bring up a couple of things real quick. So we will hold another Ask Me Anything session next week on the 28th. So we'll be meeting again at 3 Eastern time. So some of this will be repeat, but also if there are questions that you come up with in the meantime, bring them up. We'll be answering them there. And the other thing I want to bring up from a logistics side of the house is this is being recorded right now. So it'll be placed up on the website such that you can come back and relook at them. So if, nope, wait a minute, whoa, pause.
We don't know if we can.
Oh, we don't know if we can. Okay, so I was about to say, don't worry about taking great notes, but I hope you did. So they're looking into actually being able to place this up. So just kind of keep that in mind. We are going to try to do that, but we'll have to get through some of the fun government network isms. So kind of keep that in mind. But even if you miss some of it, come back and we'll be here again 3 o'clock Eastern time on the 28th. So, all right. Okay. All right. And then I'll also just I was told to remind you guys too the links for everything that you saw on the files, the links to this Zoom page, all that you can find on the websites. The main one that you can definitely look at is the Costas Research Institute. So that should have been up there. It's an extension of Northeastern. So if you just type it into the Google, it'll come up and it's on their main page for the Costas Research Institute under Air Force Pitch Day. All right. So any more questions? We'll sit here and look pretty in the meantime. Okay. So we're giving the pause, and it seems like at this point, I think we're good. Okay, everybody. So again, I want to say thank you for coming, for joining us. Actually, Nick, any other final admin stuff?
No
that we need
closing
to
statements. Thank you for attending, and please come back on the 28th and tell your friends.
All right. Thanks so much very much, everybody, and we will talk to everybody later.